Carl and Lou are here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhbl.com for sure. And it's 10 things we love about the Poltergeist film series. That is the original trilogy and the remake. So 10 things I love as always, 10 things you love as always. And further down the line, of course, the 10 things we hate about the series too. I will get us started then.
Okay.
I think we're probably going to double up with quite a lot of these because a lot of my love are more general about the series, the franchise as a whole, more than anything else. So I'm kicking in with the original. And it's simply this. The original is a classic and deservedly so. It's one that I still think holds up today. It's as enjoyable now as it was the first time I saw it decades ago. It just is the epitome of a classic horror movie alongside the things like The Thing, Nightmare on Elm Street, original, Halloween. It sits... We may not love it as much as those, you know, but it sits amongst those as classic horror movies. Yeah.
Okay, my first one. So the family bonds is something that I really enjoyed. It gives you something to anchor your attachment to.
Yeah.
So like in the first film, like the dad, and like sort of dad in the first one and two, I'd say predominantly. Like he wants to do the best for his family, and like there's certain lines that seem very natural in the way he is with the kids. And it doesn't come across as like, hey, come here, sport. It comes across as quite nice and relaxed. Yeah. And it kind of makes you feel even more for what they go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the iconic nature of the original, at least more than anything else. And we double up because I've got the relationship between the Freeling family. And they all feel like real people in a real family. I particularly enjoy Joe Buff Williams and Craig T. Nelson's chemistry in that regard. But I would also throw in, say, the relationship towards the children. This is one of the more realistic portrayals of an American family, as it were. I think in a horror movie, the chemistry between all the actors, from all the children to the teenage daughter, to the young kids, to the couple, to even some of the friends as well that you briefly get scenes with as things. It's one of the most natural. It's down to incredible acting, of course, more than anything else. Good writing as well. But yeah, of course I have that. The relationship between the Freeling family, which I wouldn't say. I think there isn't as much of it in the second film. No. It takes a sort of different stance and plays around with the idea of the strain. But that film has its issues, you know.
And I feel like sometimes in horror films, when they go so quickly into the trauma, you don't see a family bond as well. You just see a family in trauma, and it's hard to tell how close they were beforehand. Whereas this one, you get a bit of time to know them first, then they're thrown into the trauma, and it makes for a better film. So most of the time in a horror film, they seem to be moving away from something, or they're moving because of a drama, and you don't get to see the bonds as well. That's what I find.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously a heavily criticism of any sort of movie when you fail to give characters proper development. If you can't make us give a shit about them, why would we care about it when they're in peril? Yeah. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
So we doubled up. So then my next one, the child actors. If you're doing a family horror, you need to make sure they're going to hold your interest. So they're going to be a large part of the film. You need to make sure that I'm engaged with these children. Yeah. They're not just like their eyes are glancing off screen because they're being prompted and... You know, really distracting, but I thought they all did really good jobs. Yeah.
Heather O'Rourke, obviously. Oliver Robbins does really, really well. Unfortunately, I've forgotten her name. The character Dominic Dunn. Yeah. As the teenage daughter, even her minor role is done very, very well as well. Yeah, I agree. I don't have it though. Yeah. It's a line. It's literally probably the best line in the entire franchise, and it's you moved the headstones, but you didn't move the bodies. The delivery of that line alone is incredible. But for us, the realization and that iconic, might have been something you suspected, it maybe tweaked at the back of your mind, but because it was never said or suggested or even hinted at, in regards to moving the bodies, you know, obviously you get that earlier scene between Craig T. Nelson's father character and his boss, talking about, we've done it previously. We moved bodies in a different cemetery down there and stuff like that. But he plays it off and, you know, implies they moved everything. But the realization they didn't. And the fact that, like, it's a negative here, but, like, the remake didn't even attempt to try and recreate that. Yeah. Instead, it's just in a throwaway moment when the medium says it. And it's like, no, I was glad they didn't try to recreate that. Craig T. Nelson grabbing his boss and...
Because it's iconic.
The headstones, but you didn't move the bodies. You know, like that's such a line. What a delivery. Yeah.
So my next one. The body horror moments really stood out. So like the worm in Poltergeist 2.
Yeah, there's some strange moments of that, isn't it? Yeah.
That was, really. really tell, because like, sometimes it kind of, they're a little bit, not cheesy, that's the wrong word, a bit more.
Effects have aged.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a gloss on some of the effect, on some of the what they're trying to get across. But this worm, it looked horrible. It was slime. It's really
a practical effect.
Yeah, and that really stood out. Like, oh.
The actor has what do we call it?
Condition.
No, not condition. I believe he's missing his legs.
Yeah,
like that. So it's an actual actor in a sort of obviously made up to look like that and so on. And there's some touches of body horror as well in the third film. The body horror. It's not something. It's not. It's very underutilized. I guess that's why it shocks.
Yeah.
Second film. Yeah, I got some love about the second film. Henry Kane. If there's one reason to be scared of the sequel, it is that motherfucker. The character of Henry Kane, the actor that portrays him, was it Julian somebody? I've forgotten his last name. Julian somebody. Gaunt, the preacher outfit, the wavery voice, which is done by layering to his voice and another person's across to create this wavery voice. The singing, the parts where he gets a little bit more desperate. Henry Kane. And
the fact that he was quite ill in real life.
He was. He died a couple of years after from stomach cancer. Yeah.
Dedication to actually finishing a film, and it's quite a sad thing. Just think of we doubled up.
Of course.
Yeah, creepy character and the cult element, very disturbing.
Okay, well, I've got a separate one that's the cult.
Oh, okay.
Separate, which is simply this. One of the things that terrifies me, or at least makes me uncomfortable in all of horror, if you watch these videos regularly, you know I struggle with mutilation of human bodies, that kind of thing. Things like cabin fever, that flesh eating. Like I struggle with body horror basically. It's something that actually does still turn my stomach if it's done on the extreme side. Put it this way, I've seen cabin fever once and I've never watched it again because I generally felt sick watching it, which is such a rare thing for me. It's so rare that's what affects me. But another thing that affects me is cult shit. It's cult stuff, and Poltergeist 2 plays around with that by giving us flashbacks of this cult that went down to this crypt, and the sight and the shot of him dripping water and them desperately pleading for help, and him just sitting there with a big grin. And it's terrifying. Real life stuff, because it's real as well. It's real. We know of real events that have involved cult on a massive grand scale. I don't need to tell you which ones I'm talking about when I say that. That I find incredibly horrible. Yeah, that's horrible. It's horror.
I didn't double up on the cult stuff there. But I put in the original Poltergeist film, I like how they start kind of almost playing with the poltergeist.
Yeah.
Like, see what we can do. We can slide across the floor.
Fun, innit?
It doesn't go to the dark straight away. It's kind of like they're surprised by it, but it's like, wow, this is cool. Come and see what the poltergeist is doing. It's not like shit. We need to move and get a medium in. It's a bit more fun. And then when it does turn, it makes it even more like, oh.
Yeah, like it was all a sinister setup.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll play a game until we can get a chance to get Caroline alone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We kind of touched it several times, but across all the movies, so I'm saying from the first, second, third, and the remake, this is very important, all of them, the casts are great.
Yeah.
Even the remake, which has a massive amount of flaws, the third film, which has an incredible amount of flaws, the one thing you can't really get angry at is the acting.
Yeah.
It strong. Really, really is strong across all the movies. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't go for that one, but it is well worth noting. Using the real skeletons in the original Poltergeist and the reveal. So we kind of did double up a little bit on the reveal, but having all the skeletons coming up and stuff is a great scene, iconic scene.
Yeah, it's just one of those where it's like it's become such a believed fact, but no one will ever openly admit whether it's true or not, which is really causing it to become almost like an urban legend.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, is this true? And no one will actually say to it, whether it's supposed to be true. That's the thing. So it's quite something. If that is, it is. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna give a positive from the third film. Something I love, which is the amazing use of mirrors in Poltergeist 3. The movie doesn't have a lot to enjoy overall, but one of the things it does, it's very different to any of the other Poltergeist films, and quite unique for the time, was how it uses mirrors and the clever angles it takes and scares utilising those mirrors. Very, very clever stuff.
I still don't know how to...
There's a technique. I remember reading up, there's a technique to do a lot of these shots where there should be a cameraman in view. Stuff like Carol Ann when she's standing facing the mirror and her other self grabs her and pulls her up. That's a full-bodied mirror, but we see nothing else in it. It's an incredible effect. Or the hallway of mirrors where someone's running down on one side, but there's nothing that's really clever shit, man.
It's cool to watch, especially in the 80s as well. Like to have that kind of level of kind of skill is really nice to watch.
Very, very, very talented. But it's a positive of that movie.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We doubled up on that one.
Oh, cool.
So the filming style, especially like the mirrors in the third film, and the camera work in that early 80s film still holds up. Mm-hmm. So it's really good to watch. And
I'm now going to say something I love about the remake. Yep. There we go. In fact, I've got more than one about the remake. So, yeah, we'll start with the remake's willingness to get the original scares out of the way and then try some of its own stuff. We know with this when we were watching it, that it flew through a quicker of the sort of scares you'd seen before. So it doubles up very quickly on the clown door scare and the tree scare, both of which are inferior, really are, particularly the clown door shit. But then it's like, oh, right, out of the way. You've got like half a movie to go. You've now got to come up with some of your own stuff.
Yeah.
And that was really cool because they very much could have stretched out all the original scares that existed in the original and just done them.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It was including as well, like its variation on the face tearing scene is done early on as well with the worms and the maggots and stuff like that. Yeah. That's done early on as well. And then we're kind of like left with, okay. It's almost like they knew, well, look, the studio, the production, they've said we have to hit these beats because it's a remake. But let's just do them. And then we do our own stuff.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I can't knock that. That's at least something, trying to do something different when you are. Here's the thing about the Poltergeist remake. I have to throw this in now. It's not a reimagining. It's not that. It's not the Friday the 13th remake where that was 4 films in one. That's a reimagining or something like that. This is a remake. Not a shot remake like Psycho, but it is, without a shadow of a doubt, a remake. Yeah.
I didn't get that one, but it's really worth noticing that one. I put Tangina. She's such a unique character, and you can really believe that she can commune with the spirits. Yeah, she
is very unique.
So, like with her voice and like her height as well, they kind of, you would believe that she would be a medium and talk to spirits and stuff like that.
I always loved her confidence.
Yeah.
Her confidence. I think the first film, like when Stephen's mocking her down the stairs. And you've got a wonderful camera angle where like it's positioned so you can see all the way up top of the stairs in the distance, and Stephen's whispering he's to his wife. I think I was trying to answer in my head, and then she answers him up the stairs and steps into view. And I mean, it's the confidence. I agree with what you're saying. It's a shame that she was poorly used in the third one, but then there's a lot of real life reasons for that. And I think they lacked the Tangina character in the remake, but then they had to, because if you'd just done some of the same, you'd have been like, that's bullshit.
And people would have just dismissed it. So yeah, I get that. But yeah, she's an unusual character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you couldn't have had Poltergeist without her, really.
She's as integral as Carol Ann, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Sticking with the remake, I think some of the effects in the remake are actually pretty good. I think some of them look really, really good. And in particular, I want to praise the look of the other side. We never actually saw the other side in the original. Actually, tell a lie, we did. Poltergeist 2, the other side, you get a kind of view of the other thing when they go into the fire, and it's CGI horror. And it's just like, is that it? Whereas in this one, the body's all like trying to reach and stuff like that. It's CGI fucking heaven. But it looks good. I think it looks good because it's done with that drone, so that kind of works as well. And even when you go into it, it's got that kind of, if you think No Stranger Things, it's got that look of it. Yeah. And I kind of like that.
It feels quite dense with the bodies. That's what I felt like it would be. Like it's packed. There's tons of these soul, like it's...
in that one place, yeah.
They're all trying to get you.
I think it was good. I think it was one of the best moments of the remake.
Yeah, I enjoyed that part.
Got one more left.
Same... What do I have my last one? Yeah, my last one. So 1 and 1. How the original will always be an absolute classic, and you can watch it as a standalone film, and it's great.
Absolutely.
So you could clearly just say to someone, watch Poltergeist, should I watch the rest of them? You can, but you're happy enough with just Poltergeist.
Yeah, you could say to the person, look, you can, but it's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to, you don't have to. Yeah. Like, there's nothing to worry about it. The continuation of the Freeling family story isn't that spectacular to make you go, oh no, we must see what happens next.
Yeah, because in Poltergeist 2, as much as Henry Kane's a good, amazing character, there's a separate kind of entity with like they have like a sweat lodge part, don't they? And like him, the father not being able to protect his family, and that separate side, which I felt weakened it a little bit. So if you could kind of put Henry Kane in the first one, you'd have like all the elements from the Poltergeist that you'd want. But yeah, I'd still go with Poltergeist on its own as an absolute classic.
Yeah. And last but not least, it's still with a remake, but it's been me being a little bit of a bitch. And this is actually for everyone. And then, amazingly, and it's really, really cool, the majority saw the remake for exactly what it was. Fine, but completely unnecessary. And reading up, do a bit of reading and Googling and looking into reviews and people's thoughts. The general consensus is this. You will not come across anyone that says this is an amazing movie. Or anyone saying this is a terrible movie. Literally, everyone is sort of saying the same thing. Yeah, you know what? It's fine. It's a good movie. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it particularly. Didn't need it though.
Yeah, that's the main point, isn't it? It wasn't needed.
Yeah, didn't need this. Like it could have been way worse than that. It could have been way worse than. See such a general consensus of people just going,
But
it exists.
Then you have people like Sam Rockwell as the dad, so like...
No, we're not doing that. We could get into the hate thing. Sam Rockwell as a father is an exciting thing. Sam Rockwell's a great actor.
Yeah.
But when you're going to give him shit to do, he's going to suck as much as anybody else. But then, he's fine in this. It's the whole point is, my love is that the general consensus is that people see the Poltergeist remake for exactly what it is. Yeah. Completely unnecessary, but unoffensive. Yeah. There you go. There's our 10 things we love about the Poltergeist film series. Let us know some of yours in the comments, and of course check back for 10 things we hate. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts, and of course if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?